Hey guys, Stay Patient here and welcome to another episode of How to Be a Trophy Hunter. Now we're going to be covering another fairly basic subject today, so I apologise to those of you who are experienced trophy hunters already, but there are a lot of new ones joining us, so I want to make sure to keep them up to speed and not sort of leave them behind by getting too complicated too soon. So today we're going to be talking a bit about completion percentages and explaining how they work, and also applying them to three different sort of categories of trophy hunters, three groups that most of us fit into. And I'm going to be explaining why it could be seen as an important decision choosing early on which group you want to fit into, which approach you want to take to trophy hunting. So we have an example here of a completion percentage. We're here on psnprofiles.com and this is my account, and you'll notice there that it says 94.83% completion. Basically, this is something that you can't see on the PlayStation consoles themselves, but there are lots of trophy tracking websites such as psnprofiles.com that we use on this channel quite regularly, and they display a lot more statistics including your overall completion. Now this basically takes into account every game in your collection and works out your total completion across all of them. Some people refer to it as an average completion, but that's not strictly the case, so let's just explain exactly how this is calculated. To make this easy to illustrate, we're going to imagine that you have two games in your trophy collection. The first one is a game with a platinum that has 1200 points in total. Now if you're not sure what I mean by trophy points or PSN points, then check out the first episode in this series which explains the leveling process when it comes to trophies and how all the different trophies have different values and everything. It's all explained there. But we're going to imagine, like I mentioned, that we have one game that has a platinum in our collection and that has 1200 points in total, which is fairly average. And then we have a second game which doesn't have a platinum and it only has 300 points available. Now let's imagine you've earned the platinum from the first game, but you've only earned 50% of the trophies from the second game. Now just to explain how the percentage works on each individual game, I want you to imagine that the game with 300 points has 10 bronzes, they're 15 points each, so that's 150 points in total, and then it has 5 silvers, and they are 30 points each, which make another 150, so that's 300 points in total. Now if you've earned all 10 of the bronzes but none of the silvers, then technically you have 2/3 of the trophies because you have 10 out of a total of 15. But your completion on the game would only be 50% because you have 150 out of the available 300 points. Now when you look at your account, you may think to yourself, okay, my average completion is 75% because one of the games is 100% complete and one is 50%. But that's not the case. That's not how this completion percentage is calculated. Basically, it works out how many points are available on your account from all the games you've played and then figures out what percentage of those points you've already earned. So on your account there would be 1200 points available plus 300 points, which would make a potential total of 1500. Now if you have all 1200 from the platinum but only 150 from the second game, that makes 1350 in total out of a potential 1500, meaning you have a 90% completion rating. Now the opposite applies as well. Let's flip those games. Let's say that you have 100% on the 300 point game, but you only have 50% on the 1200 point platinum. So that makes a total of 300 at 600, which is 900 out of a potential 1500. So in that scenario, you would have a 60% completion rating. So it's quite simple really, and I do hope that makes sense. I hope I've explained it in a sufficient manner. But now we're going to kind of split trophy hunters into three groups. So before we do this, I'm going to explain that there's a lot of variation between these groups. You can be somewhere in between one or the other. You can be a bit of column A, a bit of column B. So people don't sort of fit into pigeonholes in this way, but we're just going to use this as an example really. Now I'm going to use some terms here to describe the three different groups that we're going to talk about, and I don't want you to get offended because the words I'm using very much refer to the people's approach to trophies rather than their success or their skill. So the first group we're going to talk about we'll refer to as the casual trophy hunters. So these are people that may well be a higher level than a more serious trophy hunter. They may have more platinums and have a higher completion percentage. But the term casual refers to the fact that they don't put as much importance on trophies as some more serious trophy hunters. So in other words, They enjoy earning trophies on games that they're having fun with, but as soon as the fun stops, as soon as they stop enjoying it, maybe they find some trophies that are a real grind, or they just get bored of the game in general, they're not going to keep playing it just to earn the trophies. They'll move on to something else. Now, a good example of this is Tomb Raider from 2013. This had great single-player trophies, the campaign was enjoyable, the trophies were fun to earn, but then as soon as you reach the online trophies, you realise that they're a huge pain. They're very monotonous, and the online was dead, so you had to find boosting partners, but then you had to spend hours farming XP, maybe in a solo game against nobody. It was incredibly boring and monotonous. So a casual trophy hunter would probably get to that point and think, nope, I'm not doing that, I'm going to move on and play something else. Whereas the second group, which we're going to refer to as the serious trophy hunters, might have stuck that out. They would sort of hang around with a game that they might have stopped enjoying to earn some frustrating and boring trophies, just to kind of finish off a platinum that they'd started on. Their approach would be one of trying to 100% everything maybe, not necessarily being able to, because they would still play some games that they want to play on the account that they maybe know they're not going to be able to platinum or 100%, but they'll also try and help their completion percentage by playing some of the sort of easier platinums, some of the easy quick games that we highlight on this channel. Now, of course, as we discussed in the second episode, these easy platinums do serve more of a purpose than simply leveling up your account. They can open your eyes to a wider variety of different games. They can sort of help you stumble across some hidden gems, or maybe some genres that you'd never tried. And even if the game you try within that genre is awful, it might make you think, you know what, I like the idea of this at least, so I'm going to try out something else that's better. And it can kind of lead you down new paths that result in a sort of wider range of different gaming experiences. Now, I suggest checking out the second episode if you'd like to hear a bit more about the sort of fringe benefits that come along with playing some of those easy plats. Of course, I don't recommend making them your main diet, as it were. You want to be playing games you enjoy, but it's nice sometimes just throwing in a nice easy quick platinum between other titles as a sort of palate cleanser of sorts. Anyway, that's the serious trophy hunter. They'll kind of carry on playing games that they're not necessarily enjoying that much anymore, so they can finish them off, and they'll also play some easy plats as well. Now, the final group we're going to refer to as completionists. Now, these are basically people that are determined to have 100% completion on their account. And I know some people that go as far as simply not playing games unless they're 100% sure they can finish every trophy in it. So this results in some of them not even playing any new titles because they're worried about, DLC being released and not being sure whether they're going to be able to do it. So they wait until games have had all the DLC released before diving in to make sure that they can check the sort of voting threads and the difficulty ratings and things like that before starting them. Now, I guess one sort of positive side effect to this is that they probably save a lot of money because it's a lot cheaper buying Game of the Year editions or maybe season passes when they've dropped down in price. But it is quite an extreme approach to trophy hunting. Of course, although you could argue that the casual trophy hunters maybe have the healthiest approach to trophies, there is no best approach out of the three that we've discussed. There's no kind of right or wrong way of trophy hunting. We all do it in the way that we personally enjoy the most. The reason I bring this up, though, and the reason we've spoken about completion percentages, is because of one basic aspect of PlayStation trophies, and that is the fact that once you've played a game on your account and earned one trophy, that game can never be removed. It cannot be deleted from your account. Now, thankfully, Sony have added the ability to remove 0% trophy lists from your collection, so if you accidentally load up a game on your account and you didn't mean to play it, you can quickly quit out without earning any trophies and still delete it. But as soon as you earn the first trophy, then you cannot remove that game. You can hide it from your account, but if you do that, it does not affect your completion rating. So even if you hide all of the incomplete games from your collection, leaving just the 100% complete ones visible, it's still going to take all those incomplete games into consideration when calculating your completion percentage. So guys, the reason I bring all this up is because I very much recommend that you new trophy hunters who are just getting into the idea of trophies and starting to earn some platinums, I recommend that you put some thought into what approach you want to take to trophies, because although it's perfectly fine not worrying about your completion percentage, a lot of people don't, and that's a very healthy approach. Some people do decide later on that they'd very much like to have a 100% complete account, and quite often by that point it's too late because they have a lot of games on their collection that have had maybe the servers closed down, or there are unobtainable glitch trophies, and it's impossible for them to ever reach that 100% that they might now crave. So if you put some thought into that early on and make a decision as to whether you think you're going to care about your trophy completion percentage later on, then you can have that in mind right from the beginning and be sure to not leave yourself in a situation where you're sort of unhappy with your account a couple of years from now. Now, some of you guys may already be in that position where you're an experienced trophy hunter, but you're still playing on the same account that you had right from the beginning when you first bought a PS3 or maybe a PS4, and you may have spent a lot of time gaming without caring about trophies, a bit like I did on my Tommy T456 account. And what happens is we end up with all these games that we've just tried out, maybe we didn't like, and there's 1 or 2 trophies earned, and there are so many of them that you simply don't have the time or the skill to go back and complete them all to 100%. And many of them might be impossible to finish anyway, thanks to server closures or glitched trophies. Now, if that's happened to you, for many of you, you won't worry too much about your completion percentage, and that's absolutely fine, of course. But a few of you may be sat there every time you sign in thinking to yourself, damn it, I wish I could get my account to a high completion percentage, but it's impossible at this point. Well, I felt like that, and I actually started a new account. You may be thinking to yourself, the Stay Patient account's very impressive. It's quite high level, it's almost level 50 with about 250 platinums, and I've got about a 95% completion rating. And all the games that are unfinished on my account are ones that I can finish. There are no unobtainable trophies, and there are none that are sort of outside my kind of area of expertise, as it were. But as many of you will know, this wasn't my first account. I had to abandon a fairly high level account at the time to be able to start this new one. So I was running the Tommy T456 account, and it was level 25, I think, or maybe 26. It had 79 platinums, and it had some of the hardest platinums available on PS3 at the time. I had Homefront, I had Gran Turismo 5, and a whole host of other very, very rare plats. Now you can imagine how hard it was to abandon that account and start a new one. In fact, at the time, I was thinking that I would have both running alongside each other. Stay Patient was almost like a pet project on the side. It was something that I was using to see how quickly I could level up a new account and see if I could keep an account at 100% completion with all the kind of knowledge that I built up regarding trophy hunting through playing on my old account. But before long, the Stay Patient account, got to the point where it was my main account. It was the only account I wanted to play on, and I have kind of relaxed my approach to it. I'm no longer a completionist on this account. I'm sort of sat somewhere between a serious gamer and a completionist. But I guess the moral of the story is the fact that although it was very difficult for me to leave an old account behind when it was high level, it was actually the best thing I've done as a trophy hunter, and my new account has ended up far better than my old one ever was, and I'm happier with it, so I enjoy my trophy hunting a lot more. So if you are one of those people out there who has had an account on the go for a while, and you really wish that you could have a higher percentage of completion, then you always have the option of starting over, which seems crazy at the time. I felt the same. I was thinking to myself, how can I possibly leave behind all these platinums? But before long, you'll catch up with your old account and overtake it, and you'll be glad you did. Of course, I'm not recommending that you do it. I'm just pointing out that it is an option and sort of giving you my own personal experience to point out that it's not as bad as it may seem to begin with. Now, whether you're an experienced trophy hunter that maybe is deciding to start over from scratch, or you're a new trophy hunter that's only recently started your account, maybe over the last few months, then you may be thinking to yourself, that's fair enough, trying to protect your completion percentage is all well and good, but that means that I'm going to miss out on a lot of games. I'm going to have to avoid games that I want to play. How can I work around that? Well, in the next episode, we're going to be discussing the idea of blank accounts. These are brilliant, and they will revolutionize your approach to trophy hunting if you haven't started using them already. They're very, very simple, and we're not going to explain exactly how they work now. It's going to be the subject of the next episode, like I mentioned. But basically, it's going to allow you to play games that you want to play, but you're not sure whether you can earn the trophies for, on a separate account, but still be able to put those trophies onto your main account if you happen to earn all of them. If you happen to earn the platinum despite the game being very difficult or very long-winded, then you don't need to be disappointed that you didn't start it on your main account in the first place, because you can still put those trophies onto your account at a later date if you wish. So that's a method that we're going to explain in the next episode, guys. I hope you've enjoyed and understood my explanation of how trophy completion works. Obviously, it's something that not everyone cares about, and I'm not trying to recommend that you do care about it. I'm not promoting the idea of chasing a 100% completion rating. I'm just pointing out that if you're the kind of person that does care about a completion rating, or you feel like you will do in the future, then it's worth keeping that in mind right from the beginning, because of the fact that you cannot remove games once you've played them on your account. So thank you very much for your time, guys. I hope those of you who are new to trophy hunting especially are finding these videos helpful. We are going to get into some more sort of in-depth techniques and methods as we go along. If you're watching this on its upload date, then don't forget that later on we are going to be holding the 10,000 subscriber celebratory stream at 7 PM GMT, so don't forget to join me for that. Thank you once again very much for watching, guys. Have a good weekend, and I'll catch you very soon. Cheers.